Hey, it's the road show. Sunburned but happy. We're all back home after a hell of a trip to Car Week 2024. First time I had been, I think a couple of you had been there at least a couple times before.
Yes.
And it was everything you promised it would be and more. I felt like we were really living for a few days there, guys. It was just like one thing led to the next.
I think we need to up the ante. It was out of this world.
It was out of this world.
It's broken me.
I think,
it's rewired me. Yeah,
a different person.
Yes. I'm wearing denim now, guys. What else?
I know. I love it. I know. Alan and I
Jay
were.
Leno fan club next.
Isn't that just your pajamas in Denver? I thought that's how you roll.
Yeah, that's right. Right. I came up with a cowboy hat from Roof. They're
so cute, right?
They are. Unfortunately, my little roof, the R on the roof got a little rubbed off in the overhead. So live and learn. Next time I'll FedEx it back to myself. But we should start from the very beginning because we all got there independently. We all got in. Was it Wednesday, give or take? And
I got late Tuesday.
I got there
Tuesday. Yes, some of us flew. You all flew into San Francisco? Is that right? And
I drove.
Monterey. We all made it there, and as soon as you got close, you were in the right spot. I flew in here from Denver into Monterey with Tom Horan from the Colorado Grand, and even the plane there, right? A lot of Porsche hats and things, right? In the terminal, and we get there, and we decided to stop for lunch and take a table right next to Mr. James May. So, and then it just went from there, right? Then it just went from there. I didn't have it in me to ask for a picture. I just kind of gave him the nod,
Do you know all the photos that people have done with him? He looks like a cardboard cutout. He's got the same posture and he's standing in the same way, like they've just wheeled him in and then wheeled him back out. It's the same figure.
It's funny. Yeah, that's exactly what he looked like. He looked like maybe he just wanted to eat his burger, and but that's where the week began for me, and it just you just went from there. It was just one thing after the next. So, what was your first day like, guys? Who wants to go first? You got into town. What'd you do first?
So I got into California a couple of days before I flew in from London, and I got onto the flight, and I thought to myself, you know how people get on flights and they try and airdrop a picture to you, and it's some crazy picture, and it sends it to everyone on the flight.
Right.
I was trying to figure out how I could send a roadshow podcast link to everyone on the flight.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah. They're all on here with Wi-Fi for 10 hours, and I thought, right, if I send them the intro, and then they've got 10 hours worth of listening. But I'm an old dude; I couldn't figure it out.
That's guerrilla marketing at its best.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, right. Captive audience.
You should have sent a note to the captain,
Oh, there you go. Public announcements. Slip 100 to on the announcement.
Or this plane is going down. Yeah.
Unless you listen to the road show.
So I did a couple of days in California. That was really good to catch up with some old friends there. And then I booked a car to drive up, and I thought, I don't really want to go to Car Week in any old rental. So I went to the Enterprise Exotic department and said, what have you got? And they had a Bentley. It was really nice. They told me how much, so I kept walking. And it was a Range Rover. And for years, I have not been a Range Rover fan. I thought they're big, they're slabs, they're heavy, they're wrong status symbol for me. And so I thought, you know what? Today's the day. I'm going to see what the buzz is all about. So I got that, and I felt like a rap star, cruising all the way up there on the.
Yeah.
I did the relatively scenic route as much as you could because Big Sur's closed at the moment.
Right.
And that 5.5 hour drive felt like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I got at the other end, and I thought that was the best choice ever. It was a great car.
That was a good looking ride. It was a sport, right?
It was a sport, bright white, and it didn't go back as clean as it came out. That's for sure. So
because you did some,
but we all had some interesting
off-roading
cars
on the hill there in the parking lot at the track.
Yeah, that's
it did. That's right.
Better to do it in a Range Rover than a Koenigsegg, which I saw just about get stuck. But we were in an electric Hummer, so top that. No, a matte army green electric Hummer. So thanks, Colin. That was a blast. It kind of added an element, right, to the weekend. Probably not the ideal vehicle for the narrow streets of Carmel, but
I was going to say many places that wouldn't work, but because of all the supercars and hypercars that were up there, I think I saw one other Hummer. That was it.
Yeah. And it got the attention. Lots of, it was the younger kids, right, who didn't know better, but lots of pictures and that kind of thing. Dan, you were in a Mustang.
All the mums know.
That's right. Tiny inside, guys. Tiny. Like not much of a backseat at all. So I don't know where all that goes, but also tremendously quick. 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. The thing goes up like a ski boat when you mash down the accelerator. It's a wild ride. So it was fun. But you were in a Mustang convertible, Dan.
Yeah, and I think I think actually Car Week there is a skill, and I didn't pass that skill. But if you turn up in a car that no one else has got at Car Week, there's extra kudos to be given to you. So I think the electric Hummer is a pretty good car for that.
Yeah, it was. And I did see about 9,000 Mustang convertible rentals. So
but you see any with 077 on the side.
That was a nice touch.
What great advertising!
That was awesome. Lindsay, I don't even know what you drove.
I just took my X3 because I drove up from Orange County.
See, you're a local. Yeah.
It was really nice. That was the first time I've had my own car there. I've had rentals before, which were lovely. But it was fun having my own car and just not having to think about it.
We actually came in from the airport. Tom rented a car, and they wanted to give him a Kia Soul. Tom didn't know what a Kia Soul was until we got to the parking lot. Not only was it a Kia Soul, it was a red Kia Soul with about 85,000 miles.
Oh, wow.
Tom immediately walked back.
Got the keys to who I am. Yeah.
That's right. And I think they thought they were doing him a favor, it was sporty. But we ended up with a GMC Acadia, which has the most convoluted, it wasn't a bad car, except it died on us a handful of times, 10,000 miles, and also has the most convoluted shifting system. I think they repurposed electric window lift switches. They're in the dash under the radio. It was bizarre. And we got this error message a few times, including when we were in front of the gate for the Gordon Murray reception, which I'll get to later. Not where you want your rental car to die, right? As supercars line up behind you and all eyes are on you, and we're flipping these switches, and then the car says it's got to reboot, right? And so we have to wait about 10 minutes as the car goes through.
Wouldn't it be a great thing, though, that actually if like Gordon was behind you and he got out and said, don't worry, I remember this from a quirky old English car. You got to jiggle this and jiggle that. And, there you go, lads, you're right. It'd be...
It was a bit like a quirky old English car. I didn't check underneath for leaking oil, but it was, but we all made it there. And so, the first thing I did is I had lunch next to James May. I think did we all end up going to the Motorlux thing that night?
I think
did not.
3 out of 4. I did not.
Okay. Yeah. We didn't even see each other till like day 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Like that was the other thing, because you just bump into people right?
Well,
the whole time
so
you're there.
much going on, isn't there? But I did hear Motorlux was a bit of an interesting audience. I heard it was lots of good people watching.
It was amazing. It was quite first event. Packed, absolutely packed. Right, absolutely packed. So Motorlux, is it Hagerty that does that, Lindsay?
It is.
Puts on Motorlux.
It started as it used to be called McCall's Jet Center, and Hagerty bought it from the McCall family that started it, and so it's been Hagerty for the last 2 to 3 years, and that's when they changed it to Motorlux.
So it's ostensibly a hangar party.
Yes.
But it's in multiple hangars. The Broad Arrow auction's going on at the same time. It's one of these all-you-can-eat, all-you-can-drink things. Ran into a lot of interesting folks.
And having the auction during the party this year was new. So I'm curious what you guys thought about that.
Oh, that's great. Get people drunk and start getting on like, Ryan, what airplane did you buy? G5?
Yeah,
G6?
Exactly. I couldn't hear anything. And I wonder, there were so many people there. There was music, there was everything else. Even in the hangar, it was very loud. I don't know if it was conducive to an auction, honestly. I like that they got in early, right? So get there, before you spend your money at the other places, right? But I would have been distracted. If I had been a serious bidder, I think I would have been a little distracted. Although that silver 959 did catch my eye, the one that was out front.
That was gorgeous.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Would you, as a bidder? I mean, does that appeal? Like, does that?
I bought
mixed
one
on
helicopter in my life. That was a long time ago, and I'd never do it again.
But were you drunk?
Might have been, actually.
So I did appreciate that angle. It was great because you saw a lot of famous faces. It was kind of a great way to start the, I wasn't going to go because they turned me down for a media pass, and then I somehow got a way in, and I'm glad we went. It was a fun thing. But this is now 5 nights we were there, so you can't go all out that first night, right? You've got to save through, I was there through Monday, right?
Right.
You've got to save a little bit for each day. And
I
so,
think I'm not sort of jumping to the end, but just
Yeah.
sort of to refer on that, because that was obviously my first time as well, that I was sort of maxing out every day, and then I go,
that's
oh,
it.
now I'll go back. And then, you reach out and say, okay, there's a party here. And then you go, oh, I'm tired, but I should go.
you gotta
So you
go.
think you got to play the smart game and just like have a good day, but go home, have a bit of a chill out and some food, and then plan your next half of the day, because it goes on late.
It
Well,
does.
it does. And speaking of that, Dan, you actually got started before Motorlux. You had an interesting lunch with our friends at the Peterson, right? I think Terry.
Yeah, had
Did you make
put
it
up-
down in time? Because you were like
It
a
was pushing
schedule.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
So I got into San Jose. I had an hour and a half to do 70 miles to get down to Carmel for a lunch appointment. I had the choice between either a Maserati again, but the smaller one, or the Mustang. And I went for the Mustang just because you can have the top down, and So Julie left San Jose in a bit of a hurry. The nearer I got to Carmel, the more police I saw.
Yeah.
So on bridges, on the embankments, pulling people over. And this was like 20, 30 miles outside of Carmel. There was still, but I've got a story about the police in a minute. So I'll talk about my interactions with the officers of the law. But did anyone else see lots of police and cars being pulled over?
They were on
No.
e-bikes, right? With like red and blue lights in the front. Like, I mean, it was crazy. Well, you saw the stats, and I don't want to, focus on the negative, but I think there were 18 arrests. There were,
I've got the stats here, actually.
okay. All right, please.
Traffic stops, 193.
Okay.
Yeah.
Traffic citations, 129.
Okay.
So the thing I read into that is a large percentage of people that got stopped didn't get away with, like, just move on and,
Right.
behave yourself. They actually got tickets.
Got to pay for all that overtime.
13 arrests
Yeah.
and only 3 vehicles towed.
Yeah.
So for Carmel, that's probably really shocking. But for the town where I live, that is a standard Friday night. That is.
And I wonder what those arrests are for. I'm guessing they're probably a few DUIs, right?
Just
That would be my
unregistered
guess.
cars. Like, what's, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
or just if you
I
have
think
somebody
just
that's
hooning behavior as well, isn't
Yeah,
it? Pretty
yeah.
much. So,
Really
Yeah. Yeah.
extreme
I was reading
honing.
that in Carmel,
Yeah.
they were issuing offences for people that had stickers on their windshields.
All right. Well, you know what? Shut up. I mean, that's
Is this a
outrageous.
good time for me to talk about my interaction with the
Go.
law?
do
Yes,
it.
I'm
Yeah,
dying
yeah,
to hear
yeah.
that story.
I'm going to have to protect the innocent a little bit, so I will keep it very loose because I don't want to incriminate anyone. But on the Wednesday night, I was hanging out with some friends, and those friends are both mechanics and folks that work in the auto business. And 2 of the mechanics were driving a 68 Chevelle muscle car. So this was a converted muscle car with over 600 horsepower, had a crate engine, and they were driving it around Carmel. I wasn't in that car, but I did get to have a trip in that car, and that thing was really loud. So anyway, we were all going to go play some pool on the Wednesday night, and I'm in a different car with a buddy, and he gets a call to say that 2 of the mechanics have been pulled over by the police, and they need some help. The car was completely legal. It was covered on insurance and everything, but it didn't have license plates on it, and it did have a very, very loud exhaust. Probably, an extremely loud
If
exhaust.
you go out in that car, in that environment without a plate on it, you're asking for trouble. Yeah.
You are, but Car Week, if you looked, there was so many cars without plates. Car
Yeah.
Week. It's kind of expected. So it was the noise of the exhaust that caused the officer to pull them over.
Put a plate on there from Kenya or something. Just put
Right.
anything on
I saw
there.
a few Monaco plates,
Monaco.
right?
Yeah,
If you
exactly.
follow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to
It's,
take Monaco
And
plates
bad
to Car
dollars
Week.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently the officer who was on a bike was able to find the car, because he could hear it. So he literally just followed his ears and found it, pulled it over. We duly joined the pullover in a car, and I say to my buddy, "Do you want me to stay in the car?"
So that's what they like. They like you rolling up behind them at a traffic stop,
That's
don't
right.
they, Dan?
Right,
Yeah.
It's
That
I still
always goes
intimidate the
well.
officers further.
With your hands in your pockets and your.
But these mechanics are Latino. And my buddy said to me, "No, we need a white guy." So I've never
No
felt so
way.
used in my life.
And is there a whiter guy than you did?
Right, with the British accent. So we get out of the car, we go up to the officer who is California Highway Patrol, so looking like a member
You're
of
right,
CHIPS.
Governor. What's going on here?
Yeah. Hello, Mary Poppins. So anyway, we go up to him and we listen. Basically, what's the issue? And it's
Sure.
like, well, it's too loud. There are people that are local that are trying to sleep. And this was in the afternoon. It wasn't
No.
late at night.
They've all rented out their houses
This
to
car is
us.
completely illegal. We're going to tow this car
Oh, yeah,
right
yeah.
to get out of
Yeah.
town. So
That too.
he was dead set on basically towing the car. So I said to him, "Look, we're really sorry for any inconvenience. Our hotel is literally just around the corner. Would you be okay if we moved the car to the hotel and it didn't get driven all week?" And at this point, he's kind of thinking, and I'm guessing there's a lot of hassle for him to actually get the car towed. If you look at the stats, not many cars were towed. So he agrees. Then we realize that the car's got no gas in it. So we basically say, and we need to go to the petrol station. So basically he said, if I see this car on the road again, it's getting towed. So I'm available for all police stop conversations. Just give 1-800-DAN, and I'll come and help you get out of a ticket.
Wait, what's that ticket shield or whatever, right? Where you hold up your phone and then there's an attorney on the other end. You
Right,
could do that and just please, sir.
Hello, have a
Yeah.
fee.
I love it.
No
I
actual
love it.
knowledge of the law, but the British accent will just take care of it right away.
Yeah, that's all you need. It's I feel like there was a lot of that though. There was a lot of just kind of we can call it tomfoolery going on. And you guys notice this. There are levels of like involvement or levels of spectatorship, right? There was this whole contingent of young people. I think they called them the leapers, right? Like the car photographers who didn't have a ticket to anything, but yet were everywhere, and good on them. Who says, car enthusiasm is dead, right? Among the youngsters. But, and then I feel like there was kind of our tier of people who kind of belong there, right? And then there were actually the people like buying the cars and showing the cars and, hosting private tours of their collections, which we'll get to later. But it was a little bit of everyone there. Apparently it wasn't always like that. Right. But you can't look a gift horse in the mouth either. And the economic impact that must bring to the
how
town.
overwhelming it was. Like we're 30 minutes into this almost.
Yeah.
And we haven't even got to day one yet. We're literally.
I know.
Right.
Like it's
We're
still
bursting.
on Wednesday
We're bursting.
afternoon.
Yeah. It even started.
But I think, Alan and I were messaging last night and we both said, we feel like different people. And I think that sums up the impact and the experience of Car Week is that it does.
Well, I think you worded it well, trying to reintegrate into society.
Right.
Like an ex-offender, right?
I come home and there's like, I have to make my own dinner? Like, well,
yeah.
I go to a marquee and there's lovely spreads of food there I eat for free. So
you're standing
it's
in the
amazing
kitchen
how
going,
quickly you
if
can
I have
adapt.
Right.
Yeah, where's my wristband? Yeah.
Yeah, what
That's the
wristband are
best.
we tonight
That's the best.
in our home? Yeah.
Right. So easy to get used to. It's so tough to say goodbye, right?
I think that's why there is
but-
always a re-entry period, and you kind of in a good way, you feel like you got spit out the other side of it, and you're standing there going,
Give
"Holy
this
moly!"
space shuttle a re-entry period. Don't want to burn up on the way back into the atmosphere. Like but that's what it's. I mean, it's so otherworldly, right? And hey,
Right.
we're not kids. We've been to a lot of stuff. These eyes have seen many things. But Car Week is really something exceptional. And
I think
I've seen the peak of the mountain, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now nothing will look the same, right?
Well, especially for Ryan and
so that was
Alan,
Wednesday.
You guys hadn't been there before, so having now experienced it for the first time, how would you describe it?
Yeah,
truly life changing. Like I've gone back to work and they're saying, "Oh, how was it?" And it's like, if you are interested in cars, book a week off next year and go to it. Like you just have to, even if you don't go to any of the events, there's still lots you can see. You're going to see most things. It's great just hanging out. It's, everything moves from one venue to another, and yeah, it's still worth doing.
Absolutely. It's overwhelming, but in the best way, and all these people would tell me, I can't believe you've never been, right? And they just wouldn't shut up. And it got to be the point, it got to the point where it was annoying. And now I'm now an acolyte, right? Like I'm spreading the gospel of Car Week, and we'll absolutely be there next year. So
what, on Wednesday, I think that was sort of credentials day. So
yeah,
got to try and remember it all now. I
Right.
went to Laguna Seca to get the contributor pass credentials. I think that was fun.
That's right.
I knew it was
That's
going
where
to be
we first ran into each
"Hey,
other
I'm Alan
too.
Orchard." No, you're not on the list. All right, my name's Ryan Barkey. No, not on the list. I'm Lindsay Jersh.
Doors open.
Yeah.
well, for what it's worth, there's a lot of that going on all week. So it's
But that was so funny. That was where Alan and I first ran into each other, because we actually ran into each other throughout the week, which is, you kind of find that there's certain people that you run across over and over and over, which is remarkable for how many people are there. And then there's other people that you never see, and it changes year to year. And luckily, Alan and I ran into each other a bunch of times.
We did. And the fact that it took until, what was it, Friday, until we all sort of got to each other, I thought, so this is how it's going to go. We're all in the same place, but not see each other. So
Right.
So what was there on Wednesday? So looking at the show notes here, so we've got Goodings, Bonhams, and Motorlux.
Yeah,
I spoke about
yeah.
Motorlux.
Sure.
I
Well, you
didn't go to-
guys
I
went
didn't
to
go
get your
Bonhams. Oh, Goodings.
when you guys were at Laguna getting our passes, I hit the auctions, and the first place that I went was Goodings to pick up my credentials there. Later, I think it was Wednesday, we made it to Bonhams as well. So that was pretty cool, because I mean, those are show-worthy cars. So many of those cars will end up right at next year's Car Week, and I had no idea about like the hierarchy of auction houses too. So that comes clear pretty quickly as well. It's and it was just all senses go, from the get go. It was a good way to just sort of ease into it.
Well, and then you get to see the
because
Pebble,
it's just
the Concord Village too. When you go to Gooding, it's all right in there.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
I think on the auction side, it was notably a down year compared to previous years.
Yes.
Which I think is an interesting commentary on the economy and the world, and obviously in the US there's politics that are going to potentially change in the near future.
Right.
But sell-throughs were down.
Yeah.
If it was a special car, then it would still went for good money.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff, I think there were lots of bargains to be had.
Yeah. I think depended on the auction house,
When
but
you
it was
say
around
bargains,
50%.
You're saying for like $2.5 million still.
Right. It's a steal.
Yeah. It was really a blast walking around with Tom from the Grand, and Terry. Terry's the treasurer of the Grand, because Terry raced at Laguna for many years up until recently, and he drove down in his ex-Sterling Moss 250. I'm sorry, his ex-Sterling Moss GT4. Sorry, let's say this again. Ex-Sterling Moss DB4 GT from Seattle as part of that group. And so walking around with the two of them, so many people, here comes David Gooding to say hi, it's this kind of thing. So that was a lot of fun. But did you see any cars at the auctions that if you had the money, you'd have to own?
So
I saw about 300.
I saw, right. I think 300 is more accurate. I saw one at Broad Arrow. I believe it was a Mercedes, and it was painted in a floral and butterfly motif. So,
wow.
That it was actually, and you kind of go like, what would that actually look like? It looked cool, and it was so unique and happy that I went, if I had the money, it would be pretty fun, because it's one of those things where that's what I love about driving classic Broncos, is that it makes everybody smile. I feel like driving that around would make everybody smile.
Yeah.
So, and it would be unique.
Yeah. Well, I was taken by a Robin's Egg Blue Lamborghini Miura SV. That was at Gooding.
That one was gorgeous.
And then I was told it was absolutely gorgeous. That would make me smile. But then I was instantly deflated when I was told you would never fit in that car. So there goes that dream.
We can make it happen.
We can make it happen, right? Maybe put a bubble in the...
we'll put a gurney bubble in the roof, and then you fit.
That's right. Yeah, that's
Look at
right.
Dan Gurney. Yeah,
that's right. I'm just like Dan Gurney.
It's a barky bubble. I like it.
The barky bubble. The barky bubble's bound to burst. How about that? What about you, Dan?
Well, I did on the second day, so the Thursday, I did a walk around Broad Arrow, and there were a couple of rally cars that, spoke to me. Mainly, not the most expensive cars there, but just pretty cool.
In
And
history
then,
too,
yeah,
It's
there was, I don't know if you folks saw the concept car. So there was an Natal design concept car at Broad Arrow as well. That thing just looked amazing. And it was, Gigetto Giugiaro, so who's penned so many beautiful cars.
Did you
So that was
practice
cool as
saying
well.
that before the show?
Yes, in the mirror.
Yeah.
That's how I warm up for every
It
roadshow
sounds
show.
like it sounds like that's like a drunk, like when you're drunk.
Sounds like a cocktail.
right, right. Well, speaking of car designers, did you see the Zagato cars at Gooding? There was a row of about 6 or 7,
Yeah.
and only one was attractive.
I was going to say it's an interesting mix, isn't it? So
Yeah. It's that Porsche, that early Porsche that was so beautiful, despite the little like bat wings on the. And then there were all those one-off Ferraris and things, and
they
it's
do a
just
really nice early Aston. Is it DB4,
Yes.
DB5?
yeah,
Really nice.
yeah. But some funky ones in the mix. I mean, some are so funky they're great. Like that. What's that?
The Ferrari.
Is it the? No, it's the. Is it the Alpha that they did?
Alpha.
Yeah, the wedge shaped.
I just
but
got to
the
see
Alpha's
one
a
of
guy.
those.
Wedge shape.
Yeah.
Like, wedge cars are back. I think there's going to be a
Oh.
transition into future styling now.
Absolutely.
Now they're cool. Well, they kind of always were cool. But
Absolutely.
they're back now.
Absolutely. We saw just driving around the Aston Bulldog, which was later shown at Pebble.
Was it
The,
When it's class.
Yeah.
Was
Right.
it the Mercedes C1000?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Oh, the
And
Vectra.
then how many
Strata.
vectors? Right. They're all silver, so I don't know if I saw 1 or 12, but they seem
Yeah.
to be everywhere, and they look so good. The man who was showing it was at I think it was that would have been was that at the Quail or Pebble that they had it was a Pebble. They had the wedge cars. We'll get to that later,
Pebble,
but he
yeah.
had the Vector jacket, which I bet is more rare than the car, right?
That's
like
really
the
cool.
original
Top Gun
interior.
style, or
What's that?
was it Top Gun style, or like?
I think it was denim, like a denim, like
wow.
like a Letterman's jacket, right? Because of course it was, So anyway, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So that was. Are
So
we still on
firstly-
Wednesday or Thursday? Where are we
Let's get to
chronologically?
Thursday. What
We're,
happened Thursday
we're on
morning?
Yeah.
Thursday, but who did the Gordon Murray automotive reception?
I did only because I wasn't invited to the real party on Wednesday.
Oh, right.
But I did get to go to the morning reception the day after at this beautiful ranch. This is where our GMC Acadia decided to take a shit, right? And we eventually made it in. And this is again one of those events where there are a lot more people waiting on you than there are people by design. So Tom and I were shuttled up in a golf cart. It was us and a man probably younger than me and his son who were there, and he was there because he got turned down for a T50. So I think he was there to see if he maybe could work out a T33 or something.
Wow.
But
But it is an event, just generally several events
Yeah.
at Car Week where people go and, like, you can promote your car, you can
Yeah.
take orders, and you can actually take delivery of your car
Yep.
in lots of
Yep.
scenarios
Right.
as well. So it's
yeah, there were
Well,
paint samples. I mean, I could have spec'd one out.
I heard a comment that this was the first year where the customer deliveries were really emphasized, and it was kind of
Yeah,
a lot of the
yeah.
manufacturers were doing that. It's been done, but I
Yeah,
felt like it was consistently a lot more across the board this
Yeah,
year.
more of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know that anyone took delivery of a Gordon Murray car, but there were a couple T33s. There was a test mule. There was the T50, and it was interesting just to see those cars up close. They're pretty great. I actually really like the T33. I like the lesser car. I mean, these are, what is it, rev to 10.5? It's a 12-cylinder manual. It's a pretty amazing thing, and they make a pretty mean cappuccino too at the event. And it was just just sliding into that sort of rarefied air of the week. This was at a ranch, right? That I can't imagine what it cost to rent this place out. And just like the air was nice, like it just smelled of like flowers and like eucalyptus trees or whatever. I mean, you just it's that intangible stuff, right? That hits you. Everything is just done so well, and walked away without signing anything, but it was fun to pretend for an hour or so.
Well,
The
and so
GMA
I know
ranch.
Gordon did not come to Monterey this year, but Dario Franchitti. Did you get to meet
Oh,
him?
Yeah, he was not there.
Oh,
Probably
okay.
sleeping in from the party the night before.
Oh, that's right. You were there for the well. And what I heard was interesting,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I didn't hear the reasoning behind this, but that Gordon is very specific about the names of the cars, and that it's T.50, and he would like people to pronounce
Oh,
the
sorry,
dots.
Gordon. Yeah, I've
I
heard
know.
that. Okay. Yeah, T.30.
Yeah, that was
Wow.
interesting. And
Well, let me tell you.
T.33.
Yeah, none of the potential customers were using,
The
know,
dot.
No, I know. Yeah,
so
yeah. Everyone just says
that
T50. And,
lexicon. Yeah. I do actually have a friend here in Denver who's got a T33 on order, and he was there for the party. Invited another friend of the show there for the party, but I can't wait to hear about that. I'm sure it was amazing. I'm sure it was amazing.
What was the first time? I think three of us at least, I think, met up at the Avants Pit Stop party.
That's right. That was that night as
Right.
as well.
In
That
a
was Thursday
beautiful
night.
building. Like,
Yeah.
that's where it's one of the houses that I want to live in. It was a fantastic place.
Yeah. That
Alan,
was
you made it to the Avants website. So if you look at the pictures from the party, you can see the back of Ryan's head, and you're the model sat down talking to Ryan.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't make the video either, but our buddy Colin did.
Colin
I
did.
made many videos.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
I did make the video as well, but I'm kind
Did
of
ya?
like
Okay.
Mike Wazowski, sort of half behind somebody. So there you go.
That
Just a
was
suggestion.
exactly
Yeah, that's
right.
it. My belly.
That was exactly as they described it, though, as a pit stop. It was like this really wonderful, chill sort of respite, right, from some of the craziness of the rest of the week. So shout out to Adam and the crew at Avants.
Yeah,
it was
they did a
really
great job.
lovely.
It was a really cool place. Yeah.
Yep, cool T-shirts they were giving away. It was just really a nice.
I didn't want to carry the goodie bag around with me, so I said, you know what? I'll come back later and I'll grab one later. I went back, all gone.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's a rookie
damn.
first-year mistake.
Let this be a
I
lesson
know,
to
right?
you.
Take all the goodies while you can.
Right.
Yeah,
I was wearing the T-shirt yesterday, and I hadn't worn a T-shirt like this in a while, where the back is like one big sort of like picture, and it was a pretty warm day, and I'd forgotten that feeling of having to sort of like lift the shirt away from your back.
I thought
The
you were
price
gonna
of
say you've
fashion.
now got this back tattoo.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
That would be
That's
cunning
right.
marketing, wouldn't it? Yeah, let just
Yeah.
a bit of sun through. So,
Right. They always do such a great job, Avants, though. The magazine, they did a nice poster, right? And you take all the swag and then you realize you have to get it home. But,
Right.
it was, they do some great stuff and some
So
stuff
what-
that'll hang on the wall for
what
sure.
else was there? Range Rover House? I didn't go to that either. I was ramping up slowly in the early days. In fact, I hung
even
out
though
at
you
the
had a
River
Range
Cake all
Rover?
day.
Yeah, you
Even though I
would
had
have
a
got
Range
straight
Rover.
in.
Yeah.
Like, I did the Range Rover house.
Did you?
Yeah,
That's
and I
right.
think these houses, a good way to judge these car houses is the quality of their coffee. So that should be the benchmark when you
Who's
turn
drinking
up.
coffee?
I was going to say, if that coffee tastes like whiskey, then it's a really good place.
It's an amazing
right.
house, right?
Right.
Gin flavored coffee is the future.
That's right. That's right.
But it
That's
was a
the benchmark.
different experience. Yeah. It was a different experience to many of these houses that you go to. So you rock up, and a different location to 2 years ago when I went. 2 years ago, it was on the water. So looking out on the Pacific, which was beautiful. This was a bigger house and a nicer house, but the view was a golf course. So for me, less of an attractive view. They had two cars on show. One was the new Range Rover Sport SV, which has got, I got a tour, and this lady gave me a tour of it, and it's got a special system in the seats where they've worked with music producers, and it's got this system where you actually feel vibrations from the music in the seats. So when you're driving along, I don't know, did yours have that, Alan, when your rental one?
I played the music freaking loud. Everything was vibrating.
Yeah, the whole windows were like shaking and everything else. So that was one. And then if you were feeling like you wanted to buy a new Range Rover full size, they had a limited edition Carmel edition. So they did this 2 years ago as well.
Yeah.
$370,000 for a Range
Really?
Rover.
For what?
For this limited edition, you're buying one of 17. So there's the exclusivity.
Yeah.
Right.
Custom materials throughout, 4 seats. So it didn't have a bench in the back. It was 4
Interesting.
seats. Stunningly beautiful colors. It was a green, and so that was the other car they had on display. But then they had experiences, so you could make your own tea. So they had a master tea expert, and you would tell them what sort of stuff you normally drink, and they would take different extractions of different things, and you would walk away with your own custom tea.
Sorry, T dot.
Does he come
something?
with the
No.
car or?
No, that was down in
Nicely
no,
done.
but that would be great. We would call them Jeeves, right? And yeah, Jeeves, I'd like a relaxing tea this afternoon. So this lady talked me through
How much of that is bullshit? Come on.
I know.
You're all
right?
getting the exact same tea. Come on.
Yes.
Don't knock it till you tried it, right? There was also something similar with fragrances. So you could go into a different room. You had to book for that.
Mm.
I ended up in the relaxing room, and there was an
Here we
incriminating
go.
photo
Now it's
of
the
me.
after hours party.
Yes.
Yeah.
This face mask with red LEDs.
Yes.
Was
Yeah.
supposed to
That's where the
rejuvenate.
photo came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sent with no context, by the
Right.
way.
Well, I just wanted to scare everyone
Could
pre-Halloween.
be tortured or what? Yeah.
So anyway, this Range Rover house would just have lots of different experiences, and it was quite
I know they'll
quirky.
sell them, but it's come on, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Like you can go and take it and get it painted, get it trimmed, do whatever. Like I think at the Quail, no, don't want to jump ahead, but the Rolls Royce that had the super lush tailgate setup.
Yeah.
Any of you guys see that? I'll
No,
pay an
I
extra
saw
10
them.
grand for that.
Was booze involved?
Yeah,
Is it like
there's
a
a
bar?
whole rollout, flip-up seats. It's like
Okay.
you're tailgating in style. So
I see the value in that.
And also, if you're going shooting, they usually do a setup, don't they?
Right.
If you want to go shooting pheasants or something, they've
Yeah.
got some.
Well, you want to
sort
have
of
a steady hand with your shotgun, with your Bianchi shotgun or whatever, right? It's-
So that was the Range Rover house. I did see a talk by Hispano Suiza as well,
Okay.
which was at the Bonhams tent, and I would end up at the Bonhams tent a few times during the week, including one when it was closed and no one told me that it wasn't open for breakfast. But we won't talk about that.
Wait, didn't you bring a guest too?
Yeah, let's
You were
move on
talking it up,
quickly.
too.
Yeah, that's an after-hours thing as well. But Hispano Suiza are 124 years old.
Hmm.
And back in the day, Spanish manufacturer, they had so much technology and innovation. And now they're kind of coming back into the market. They've got I think it's a $2 million electric hypercar.
it's
So
the
it'll be
only
interesting.
one with the electric hypercar nowadays. So.
Right. That's it. It's like, well, the only Spanish one, right? It's yeah. But that was a good talk. A guy called David Lillywhite gave the talk, and I got to meet him beforehand. And he's the editor behind Magneto magazine, if you're familiar with that piece of work. So that was good. So that meant that I joined you guys late for the events evening. But I'll add that it was a great event, and it was a fun drive to get there. So many of the events in Car Week are quite close. You have traffic, but they're quite close. This meant you could stretch your legs, and I'm sure that the Range Rover was a lot of fun. And, Lindsay, your car would have been fun just to get there.
Right.
No. So while you were doing that, I went to the McCullen Whiskey House. It was
That's
a
right.
They ask
fantastic
after us
location.
because I feel like the rest of us didn't show,
I
right?
know. How was it?
It was really good.
Yeah.
It was really good. I just wish I'd got there early because the shuttle that you'd park up and they said, oh, there's a Bentley shuttle that'll take you there. It's a shared facility with Bentley. So it was the shuttle for Bentley, not a Bentley that picks you up. So I felt kind of
Oh,
duped
come
at that
on.
point.
False
I know, right?
advertising. Yeah,
Then when we
it's-
got there, we had a 4:00 slot for 1 hour. And because the shuttle was half hour late, we got there. So obviously went and sampled and spoke the BS. And then we went for a second one. And then they said, oh, no, bar's closed for the next 2 hours while we reset for the evening.
Shut
And
up.
you go, hang on a second, like a 30-minute window. Now, I don't normally fill out the feedback forms after. This one got my attention. I was like, I could have been somewhere else, and I chose you.
Yeah.
So,
And
So we did
thoughts.
okay there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was Thursday night still.
still
Right.
Thursday
And I
night.
think what we'll have to do here is this will have to be a two-parter. So
Yeah.
like do an hour and then another hour here.
At
Yeah.
least.
So sounds like we didn't miss much there. So
Every day ramps up. Every day. there's
every
more
day
and
Right.
more and more.
ramps
Bang
up.
your butt.
On the Thursday, also, I was on edge a little bit. So I had 6 cars coming onto the lawn at the Quail.
We can talk about this now.
But on the Thursday was when they were positioning the cars. So I was looking at my phone every 10 minutes just to check things were going okay and waiting for calls. Luckily, nothing of that happened. And the cars were positioned fine on the lawn. But I like the Range Rover house was a nice escape because I could chill out and, drink some coffee and chill. But yeah, I was on edge.
Gin coffee.
The gin coffee into the future.
Can we talk a little bit about the rally cars? Or you want to get when we get to the event itself?
I think we're good now, aren't we? I think it's
Because they were a huge hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So Quail is obviously the Friday, and it's the biggest ticket in town. I think everyone made it into the Quail. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but maybe not everyone had tickets the day before for Quail. And is that fair?
I got mine at breakfast.
Yeah, it's a hard ticket to get hold of.
Yeah, I got mine that morning
It's
too.
a super hard ticket. So, they do a lottery every year to get tickets, and then there's this kind of black market of tickets that kind of go on. And as soon as you leave, there are people trying to ask you for your wrists, basically, because they want the wristband to get in.
Yeah.
Of which we know the Dicey's were successful doing that last year. And one of
the Quail statute of limitations has passed.
Yes. There's no. We don't know which Dicey's, just any Dicey's that were lucky, right? But yeah, hottest ticket in town. I was told that there was a breakfast at Bonhams at the tent, so Julie got up at 7 a.m., drove to Bonhams, which is opposite the Quail, and provides a shuttle service to the Quail. Anyway, I got in, no security, but I did have a Bonhams wristband from the night before. I sat down and I said to the catering lady, "Oh, what time is breakfast?" And she went, 9:30. And I went, "What? 9:30?" So even though people had told me there was a breakfast, there was no breakfast.
It was
so
much
instead
later.
Of getting the shuttle across, the shuttles weren't operating. So I had to walk what is probably the best part of, half a mile to get into the Quail. With the tickets, the wristbands that we had, we could get in early. It opens normally for the VIPs at 8, and then everyone else at 9.
You had a pre-8 wristband?
I had an 8 wristband or 7:45 wristband, but I got to the gates at 7:30 and they let me in. But I walked in with Seamus from Singer. So Seamus has probably the easiest job in the world ever, and he'll be the first to admit that. He's the sales guy for Singer. He has a full book of orders to 2028.
Amazing.
No way.
So it's more relationships and ensuring that customers are happy than new business. But I've met him a couple of times, met him at Goodwood. So I walked in talking to him. We walked in. I had worked for 6 months on getting 6 rally cars to the rally class. So it was kind of a semi-work day for me. Luckily, the owner of Dirtfish has a rally collection, in particular Group B rallies cars. So worked with him, and we wanted to get good rally representation at the show. So there was actually a class of 12. Other cars there were Ken Block's RS200, which is now owned by Philip Seraphim, who owns Myers Manx. Escort Cosworths, I think 2 or 3 037s. So a good representation of class. So I got in just in time for some of the covers to be coming off the rally cars, and kind of helped out do that and set up for the day. But how did everyone else get in, and what their experience is like?
I can't share how I got my wristband. It's top secret.
No.
I'm afraid I can't either.
I can share.
It's for someone very important.
Right. So got a media ban through them. So same thing, Dan. I was trying to get there in time for the press conferences, press releases. And so I think we probably just missed each other because I parked at Bonhams also and walked over. And yes, it was a long enough walk that it gave you time to
breakfast, because if you got breakfast, I'm leaving the podcast now.
It's been great. No, it was funny. I think a lot of people maybe had that same experience because I pulled in. I happened to park next to Andrew Florin, who has put together the Ollie and Bob Cars and Coffee in LA, and we pulled in at the same time. He was looking for the breakfast as well, and they said, "Well, it's coming, but it's a couple hours down the road." So there were a lot of people that thought they were going to be getting breakfast and didn't.
I think that for me, that's one of the biggest takeaways of it, when you do that. The days are so full and long that you just got to have a good breakfast, beforehand. So through Ryan, I was lucky enough to get an invite to rent a room at a house that Maurice from Horsepower Heritage had rented, and so different
shout out
people
Maurice, what a
in
guy.
different room. He is such a hard worker. Honestly, he made me feel bad that his preparation. I'm going to bed at night drunk, and he's I can hear him in the kitchen working on a podcast or editing a show. He's a legend and such a nice guy. So I was there, but then you get up and you go, and then obviously you want to see everything and everything's going on. But I think next year I'm getting up like an hour early. I'm going to cook the house breakfast every day, and then we're all good to go. Good, foundation for the day. That's
It's a smart piece of advice, isn't it?
Right.
So we all made it in.
Yeah.
We did.
What were your highlights from the show?
I'm going to say it. The roof booth. I love that family, and we're going to have to get one of them on the show here at some point.
Yes.
One of the guys I was traveling with was shopping, so that didn't hurt. I met one of their workers, and the more I learn about the family and the company, the more I
cool story, isn't it? Everything
desire
about
to
it was
own.
cool.
Right.
Yeah. So I had this guy, I believe his name was Florian, young German guy, came up to me. Couldn't have been nicer. The nicest guy in the world, just bright-eyed, bushy-tailed guy. And he said, "Oh, I make these cars. Do you have any questions?" Oh, and I should backtrack. So the Roof family and all their workers, everyone at the display was dressed in double RL, Ralph Lauren gear. And then they were handing out these Roof branded cowboy hats, which I alluded to before, which became a hot ticket item.
Right.
But Florian said, I work on these cars. I said, well, what do you do? What's your role? He said, well, no, I build them. I do everything.
Yeah.
Like that was right. Which I thought was like the best answer, he could have had. And he guided me through the cars. There were two cars on display. There was an SCR, and then there was, I guess, the car that they released there that they debuted, which is called the Rodeo, which is why they were all dressed in this, culturally appropriated American kind of getting cowboy gear. But I loved that car. The Rodeo was this bright orange car that had the fabric was almost like a
It was kind of
Native American
Navajo-ish.
blanket. Yeah. It was. I guess it's Roof's answer to the Dakar, or everyone's kind of doing a safari car.
Right.
But
They
this
had
was
done a
so
rodeo
beautiful.
before, and this one was a collaboration
Okay.
with Freeman Thomas. And like you said,
I
Ryan,
didn't know
it's
that.
Signal Orange. Freeman, the Roofs had done their own rodeo, and then Freeman said he wanted to do one with them. So this was their collaboration.
And it was just perfect. The wheels, the stance. When you see these cars all on display, at the Quail or wherever, you realize that the build quality varies from manufacturer to manufacturer, right? The Roof cars are just perfect. And Florian, if that was his name, told me, and I didn't know this because, Roof has always been their own manufacturer, right? But I think they started with Porsche body and white cars, right? They're even making their own frame now.
Wow.
So everything about these cars is bespoke. Everything about these cars they do. I mean, they lay the carbon fiber. They do everything else, and they're passionate about these cars. Florian told me this was his dream. And one of the things that I think is special about Roof is they bring in young people and they have an apprenticeship program. I see some of these other people working in the space, and they always talk about, hey, we can't get enough people. We can't get enough people. Well, do as Roof does and bring these young people in out of high school or college and train them for 3 years or 5 years or whatever it is. And they can do everything. This Florian,
And what a cool company to work for.
What a
when
cool
you do
company.
it. For me, at the show, there was tons of supercars and hypercars, and I've got to say that Koenigsegg they defy physics in a lot of stuff they do. It's amazing, but I never thought I was a reimagined Porsche enthusiast.
Mhm.
I'll be honest, I'm going to put it out there. I'm actually not a Singer fan. I think, for me, it's now a unit of quality. It's Singer level. So I get that. And I appreciate the work they put in. But actually, I really enjoyed, by chance, I met Mark Gambala, who does the Martian Dakar style reimagined Porsche. And it's such a great story. The father passed away 10, 12 years ago. And so he's now trying to rebuild the company, and they've producing 40 and all sold. And I don't even know what the list price is, but I came back and did some homework, and it's a fantastic car. And now they're looking at doing another model as well. So yeah, there's so many varying qualities and specs of
Yeah.
cars there.
Yeah.
The one
Yeah.
show wasn't there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the
Yeah, and
variety
everyone's
is
out there to
cool.
make a splash. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and some hit the target and others seemingly don't. So Roof's got my $1 million plus. Gambala's got yours, Alan.
yep.
Lindsay, who's got your $1 million plus?
Ooh, that's
Your
a tricky
virtual
one.
million.
Right. I might have to go with BBI because
Yeah.
speaking of Dicey's and their ticket magic, when I got there, I happened to run into John and Todd and Lewis, and John happened to have an extra child's ticket. So my daughter was delivered to me midday at the show, and she got
Amazing.
to join
Amazing.
and
I
enjoy
will
the fun.
say the BBI guys would have been my second pick as well. 'Cause
Yeah.
I bumped into them at the Avants show, then I bumped into them, and we'll talk about this in a minute at the end of Quail Baja Drinks place at the end
Oh,
there.
at Baja
Bumped
Cantina.
into him there. Cantina, and then I bumped into him again somewhere else as well. And the young guy who does a lot of the design work, he is so switched on, he is so passionate. And it was like, I wanted to go drink, and I was trying to get away from talking about chassis engineering. But if ever he was on the market, I would definitely find a way of getting him a job.
Really?
Is that Dimitri, who
That
works
says
with
a lot.
Batim?
Yes.
He's great.
Yeah.
And so they had a car on display there, and they are local to Orange County. They built the Huna Pegasus that Ken Block was going to drive up Pikes Peak, and my daughter got to sit in that at Air Water. And then Alan, we ran into Batim together at Quail. You were with us, and my daughter
That's
got to
right.
sit in the car that they had on display at the Quail, and that made her day. And Batim told her that he said, "Well, now you've sat in the Huna Pig, you've sat in this one, which is Project Evo. That's the one that they had at Quail." And he said, "Any race car I build from here on out, you get to come sit in it." So they get my vote.
Amazing. Your daughter's awesome, by the way.
Well, thank you. I
She's the
agree.
And
best.
living the life, isn't she?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
I want to come back
Fun
as
to-
He's in
her.
training, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Training to be Lindsay, right?
Yeah, definitely your mini me
Eat
for
for
sure.
Lindsay, yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Dan? Who's got your money?
Well, there was just so much to choose from, wasn't there? It was,
Yeah.
even when you walked around the corner and all the way to the back, there were Valkyries and Valhallas and, all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, there was some really cool retro Audis. I didn't get to spend enough time. But in one of the stages, there was this small group of a couple of like Audi. So I'd like to have found out more about those guys, I think. But yeah.
And we should just set the stage for the Quail. And I guess, so the Quail and at Pebble Beach, the Concord, the two big events, but yet they're very different.
yeah.
And the Quail, like you said, Dan, has sort of become the hot ticket. It's a more expensive ticket as well, but it's run by the Peninsula Hotel Group, right? And so you walk in, everyone's in sort of these retro, these poor people, and these like retro, bellhop sort of uniforms. There's a giant bellhop like parade balloon, that's kind of adrift in the corner. You walk in, there's like this amazing, like not patchouli incense, but like rich people incense sort of burning. You take a champagne, glass of flute of champagne. You walk in, there's music playing, right? Like it definitely is a vibe. It's a vibe.
Right.
We got there early. I was with shout out to Tom, Augie, Christy, and Terry, all grand folks that I was traveling with. Somehow we meandered into the Bentley party that was in the lodge or in the clubhouse there. And of course, no one's going to tell us we shouldn't be, right? So we enjoyed some delicious coffee and kind of hung out until finally someone kind of came up and said, are you part of the Bentley club? And we had to say, oh no, sorry. So, but by that time the doors were open and we walked in. Again, there was a lot of that going on this weekend, but it's just such a nice event, right? The weather was nice, the food, right? I mean, and the whole thing about the Quail is they have these food and drink stands, so everything was included,
Right.
and the food was fantastic. It was like scallops and Wagyu beef. I mean, it was
Each
just
tent
like
was a different
like a
cuisine,
region.
wasn't it, as well?
Yeah. It was
And
so
ice
well
cream
done. The
stands
lines
as well.
moved.
The ice cream stand,
Yeah.
lemonade stands,
Yeah,
and then
Which I didn't even get to.
five different food tents. I heard this week I was listening to a podcast and they mentioned the pizza at Quail, and I'm like, I missed the pizza.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah,
There was so much.
you can't.
You couldn't cover all
You
of
know.
it, and it's all delicious and
but there's
gourmet.
everyone there, isn't it? Like, so there's Lamborghini and Stefan is there. Obviously, Gordon Murray was there. McLaren was there with Michael Leiters, Maserati, Pagani, Koenigsegg. Everyone was there.
Yeah.
I got to spend some time with the chief test driver for Bugatti and Rimac.
Oh, he's a legend.
How do you slide into that one, Dan?
Well, actually,
It's a great story. We should try and get him on the show.
Yes, we definitely should. So Tom Ford, who was he's a BBC Top Gear presenter, mainly on YouTube. Him and I were chatting on Instagram, and he said, "I'm not going to be at the Quail, but Miro will be there, and he's a massive rally guy." So I didn't realize, but he was already following me on Instagram. So I reached out to him and said, "Look, if you want to come and have a look at the cars, come look at the cars." So he did. And the timing meant that the owner of the cars was around. It was interesting because the most interesting one for him was the Subaru, which was a Tommy Mackinnon Subaru. So you've got a number of Group B cars, but he wanted to talk about the Subaru, which was a different era. But at the same time, Lewis and John Deisty turned up. So Lewis, 11-year-old, and John, his dad, I introduced them.
They're on a press pass, yeah.
They were on their press details, and I said, introduced Lewis. There's a aspiring journalist, and Miro said, well, you should come meet the head of design at Bugatti. So we duly left the rally cars, went to the Bugatti stand, and managed to spend a little bit of time with the head of design for Rimac and Bugatti, with the chief test driver, and I got some good photos for Lewis of him in the moment, which was pretty cool.
Amazing. And shout out to the Deisties, all three generations.
Star, isn't it?
Yeah.
That kid knows more about cars.
He's the supercar expert of all of us. Supercar and hypercar.
He really is. Yeah.
So that's a full day, and it was incredibly hot as well. And I think I'm only just starting to regrow some skin on my face after getting scorched.
Nice. I'm flaking over here, and I just slathered this stuff on, right? Every day, and it was just the California sun's a different sun, And,
well, it was exceptionally hot this year, which not definitely not complaining about it, but last year it was overcast up till about lunchtime, which made it for a more pleasant experience with all the walking that you do. But I'm not going to complain about sunshine. It was gorgeous.
No, and I guess I'd forgotten how warm it was.
But at the end of the day, as we were doing the walk out, some of the cars were driving past, and so we're in the golf buggy driving out. And I'm trying to record all these cars going past us. But at the end, there's the Baja Cantina, and so we thought, right, we're going to go sit down, and the BBI guys were there, and then so we got a table. In fact, I owed him a drink because we went out the night before, and it's crazy how many people you've got. The fancy, swanky Quail restaurants, but then afterwards, a lot of people just want a beer, and so sitting there. Matty Rimac was there. Horatio Pagani came through. It's just so many people, just literally hanging out, having a beer, and you just bumping into them, queuing up at the bar for another drink. Next to these famous people. It was surreal.
Well, and I think
at some point during that day, I think we got a special request from Laguna Seca. So, Lindsay, did that come to you first of all?
Yeah, how'd that even come to be?
Wow.
Let's see. That goes back to Wednesday. Like Alan said, that was credential day.
Wednesday, was it?
That was Wednesday. But I mean, I think that's the nature of debriefing Car Week, is you end up jumping around because things sort of interweave and overlap.
Blend into them.
So when we collected our content creator credentials at the start, then we went to say hi to Alicia, who runs the media program there. And while I was standing there talking to, I know, thank you so much, Alicia. We were standing just chatting about the weekend, and she was talking to my daughter. She wanted her to evaluate the kids zone, and we were just talking about a bunch of different things. And she said, you guys are podcasters, and how would you feel about
You're used to talking and waffling for hours. You'd be brilliant.
What would you think about joining Jonathan up in the broadcast booth and doing some commentary for the races? And, I said yes, because when you're handed an opportunity like that, you just grab it.
You got to do it. Yeah.
Right.
I do. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, regret
And
it
I
and
was
question
so
it
nervous
later.
for the next 48 hours.
Yeah. So I was going to say, so we spent the whole of Friday knowing that there was this ask in the wind around
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
helping out on the Saturday at the track, and so that was a super cool, interesting way to look at the Friday as well. That we kind of had this knowing that we were going to do it the next day.
Right.
Yeah. So, but how did Friday night end? Because I went back after Quail. I went back to the house. Thought, right, I'm done for the day. Luckily, the house had a hot tub. I'm sitting in the hot tub going, I'm done. And then Dan, you text me saying, a Porsche party, you got to come. I'm like, maybe not, next week.
Oh, that was
And,
Friday.
That was Friday.
Then Ryan.
Like large blocks of this week,
Yeah.
are absent from my mind. So yeah, that was
Yeah,
Friday night.
then Ryan, you text and someone else texts, and I thought, oh, you know what? I'll sleep Monday. Let's go.
Sleep when I'm dead.
So pleased I did. I think I should have got there a little bit earlier because I think talking about shrimps, I think there was a Spike story where a
Yes.
tray of
The scallops went
seafood,
flying.
yeah, all
I was
over his
standing
new
right
shoes.
there.
That's why he was grumpy. Okay.
Yeah, he smelt a fish.
It's like
yeah.
that was Spike. Like,
Yeah.
No, that was a wild
but it was a-
story.
But it was a great event, wasn't it? I walked in and it
Yeah.
was like this just salubrious music and fancy people dancing, and I'm like, what's going on? And everyone's there, and I got to sit and have a drink with Matt Ferrer, and actually he and I went out to a bar after, which was really, really good, really nice guy.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we love Matt.
And it's just so much going on. I missed Jay from Sheffield Watches, unfortunately. He was there.
But I got to see him.
You
I did too.
And you
And
got
that's
my
a-
watch for me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had a little handoff, and I got to meet Jay's wife, Patty, who was
Yes.
lovely and just wonderful people.
You 24-hour watch.
That's-
Sheffield.
that's right.
Check it out.
Well,
It's great.
Yeah, we love their product, and we're going to be doing more and more with Sheffield in the
so
weeks and months
exciting.
to come. But I should backtrack a little bit because I actually, before the Porsche party, was the Porsche movie premiere.
Yes.
Yes.
The documentary.
Was it Edith? Is that
Edith.
the Edith, about the car that made it up the side of the volcano in Chile, and Porsche Colorado Springs had some involvement there.
Right.
And Joe Brenner, who's the GM, is in the movie. And it's funny, I think my back or something is in there too, because I happened to be there the day that they were recording that. I walked in not knowing they were recording a movie. It's this giant head. It's just, it's just
We need
kind
to
of,
get
it's in the
the
frame.
logo
Like a
printed on the
back
back
model.
now.
Right. But and thanks to the Deisties, I think it was John in Porsche Colorado Springs that got us into that. So a lot of the crew from Porsche Colorado Springs was there too. The movie was very cool. It was in this amazing old movie theater called the Golden State, which was awesome. And then we walked down the street to this Porsche party where the whole world was there apparently.
Right.
And
It was
like I said,
rocking.
great to see Jay and Matt Ferris, Spike. I think Paul Zuckerman was there, though I didn't get the chance to say hi to him. God, I mean, there was who else? There was like a whole I've forgotten so much already, but it just
GT
felt like
was there. Come on.
Oh well, I mean, again, this is how did I forget that? And here we are. So,
Dan's
the father,
new best friend. Yeah, sorry.
Also in the
Andy
back of your mind,
Pruninger.
right?
Yeah,
We had the challenge for the week.
That's
that's
right.
right.
So the challenge was to get
That's
a selfie
right.
with someone we'd never met. And I'm assuming that you were too cool, Alan, to ask Matt, or did you got a picture with Matt, didn't you?
I did.
He did.
Yeah. So that was like one in the books.
He's good,
Later
but
on,
he's not Mr. GT though.
No.
That is in my
True.
book. That's
Right. He'd tell you that. I think.
he's a legend.
it's-
Yeah.
so near the end of the night, we're all stood around talking away, and a gentleman walks in with a typically European, we would call it like a sweater around his neck. And I instantly recognized him as Andreas Preniger. And if you've listened to the previous episode about Goodwood, Andreas, who is the father of all Porsche GT products, was hanging out at a barbecue at a campsite at the top of Goodwood Hill, where the rally stage was. And I didn't get to talk to him, but we got to kind of wave and, share pleasantries that way. So anyway, he turned up at the party and ended up being really near us. So I thought, in for a penny, in for a pound, as we say in England. So I went
Not
over
gonna
to him
waste
and
it.
said, hey, you were
Yeah.
at Goodwood and you were up at the rally stage. And Julie talked, I probably talked his head off a little bit in terms of, he's going to rally next year at Goodwood. So that's a bit of a newsflash. Hopefully I'm not stealing any trade secrets, but he'll be at the top of the hill doing the rally stage next year. So we're talking quite a bit about rally with him, and then everyone got involved, and we all got a big picture with him, didn't we? So really nice of him and his
Thank you.
assistant.
I got a personal one-on-one.
Yeah. That picture has been cropped many ways.
So if you look at the picture, which will be on our Instagrams,
Yeah.
Mr. Alan Orchard has been a genius when it comes to cropping out other people, so it appears like it's just him and his best buddy,
an
AP.
intimate moment with.
He was so patient with us, so kind to talk with us. He was lovely. Just him when you see him, right? And just what a great guy. What a great guy. True special moment, I think, for all of us.
It was great.
It was pretty wonderful.
So I saw. I was told. I think you told me actually, Ryan, that Matt was in there, and Matt there, and I thought, well, I'm not going to waste this. I want to go see him because I really like his podcast. I've got to be honest, and I even said this to him. I said, look, I didn't want to like your podcast, but I laugh out loud at least once through your episode, and I learned something, because he drives a lot of cars. So I thought, I'm going to go and see him. And he was super nice. And we had a chat, him and his wife, Hannah. And then we all decided we'd go to another bar. So we all went out, walking down Monterey Main Street. And as we're walking down, 3 6x6 G-Wagons went past. And it was, you just think, where am I?
Yeah.
And then a couple of Koenigseggs and 3 6x6s.
Just walking away from a conversation with Mr. Pruninger, I mean, it's just.
I felt like I was walking on air, honestly.
Scallops had been spilled and no one cared. It's just,
that's true.
That was so funny.
Yeah. So wait, tell me at the bar, because I think the rest of us have all spent time, talked to Matt Farah and Zach Clapman and Westside, been to the Westside Collector Car Storage and all that, but you had not.
No, he, to be honest, he was great. Like, we have talked about, I think he got a McLaren to drive up for the weekend. So we talked about that. We talked about, he was really good talking about, different shows and podcasts and things that worked for him and haven't worked. And got his car storage facilities that he's building up. So and we obviously checked in with the cats, made sure the cats were okay. And,
Nice.
it's good. So.
Nice. It was just that kind of night, it was just it was just great. It was just whenever there's an armed security guard at the gate, it's going to be a good party.
What
right?
Wasn't he to guard the ST out the back with the super expensive paintwork?
Right. The $150,000 blue.
Is that for real? Really?
That's what someone was told.
That's expensive paint. I think they must have said that's how much the car was worth. I don't know. That's crazy.
Porsche has special wishes, Sonderwunsch, whatever. Yeah. There needs to be like the Dream Crusher level. Right?
That's right.
That's right. So that was quite a night. And is this a good place to sort of kind of leave this as a cliffhanger?
I think
I think so.
We can,
because the next day got even crazier.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So let's call it here. If you're listening, watch for part 2. We'll be back. We are The Road Show.